Hey guys, Matty Miller, Pursuit Real Estate here, hanging out in the home office, doing a quick video and talking about our market and if we are seeing a transition to a potential buyer's market. We've been seeing a lot of factors recently in our market that are leaning us back towards more of a balanced market, possibly swaying in the way to a buyer's market. So we're going to break down some of those numbers and kind of put a little forecast on what we think could happen over the next few months here in the Jacksonville, Florida area. All right, so the first thing we want to start with, and everybody sees the numbers, and we're just going to start with sale price, quite honestly. Sale price currently, as of May, was at an all-time high. This is a median sale price of $380,000. All-time high. We hit our second all-time high last year in July at $375,000, but this May set a new record for us at $380,000. And you may be wondering why I'm talking about, oh my gosh, we just hit an all-time high in sale price. Well, I think there's some good news on the market, on the horizon for buyers, and we're going to break down why. And one of the things that I like to talk about or like to look is go back through and look at, so sold dollar volume is a big one, but the biggest one is pending sales. What I say by that is that just pending sales is always a reflection of the activity that's going on in the market. And if you can see this graph that I'm looking at, you'll see a lot of peaks and valleys. The highest amount of pending sales that we had, which is no surprise, is June of 2020. Well, what happened in June of 2020? Well, that's pretty simple. That was right after the shutdown. Had a lot of people that were rethinking about where they were living, and that's pretty much the way it was. So a lot of activity during that time. One of the reasons why is what happened in July and what happened in June was new pending sales. A whole bunch of stuff went under contract. So we shift over and look at the amount of closed sales. The closed sales is a reflection of how many deals are actually being done every single month and how many things are closing. Pretty simple. So our highest closed sale time was July of 2020. And what I want you to see is just kind of the peaks and valleys of through this, which historically the valleys have been typically in the winter times. And that'll be somewhat true with the exception of a few things. So as we move through 2020, we see December being a really hot month still in 2020. January is our low, and we kick right back up into it into March. We stay pretty high, pretty steady throughout the year with activity all throughout the year until we hit January again. And the next year in 2022, we see June hit, very hot month, and then all of a sudden it's down, it keeps going down, it keeps going down, it keeps going down. Now, what happened in 2022? Rise of interest rates. Of course, interest rates obviously went back up from, went from 3.5 to almost 7.5, almost in the blink of an eye. So obviously we saw a lot less activity. If you've been hearing from your agent, marry the house, date the rate, I will push back against that. We've heard that a lot. I have no idea when those rates are going to change. I do not have a microphone inside of the Fed's quarters where they're discussing interest rate and when that's actually going to happen. I'm not going to say that to someone. The only thing I will say to somebody is if right now is the right time to buy a house for you, then go ahead and buy your house. Totally fine. As long as you can afford it. And if nothing changes, then you can afford it and you can lock it in. No big deal. If interest rates go down, fantastic. We can always look at refinancing at that point. But what I want to show you here this year in 2023 is that we had our peak in May of 2023, a little bit high in June. And as soon as June hit, we went to July, we started losing steam. August ticked back up a little bit right before school, not pretty normal. Then all of a sudden September was low all the way through into December and January, which were also low. So our lowest month in the last, as far as production and amount of properties that were moving, was January of 2024. So my assumption, and the reason why I'm going to have this assumption is the next graph that I'm going to share, is we had some uptick here on closed sales into March, April, and May of 2024, which was fine. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's currently happening now. So we're going to look at median days on market. This is a weekly time graph now, so understand that. So we're going to look at median days on market, and we're now back up to 45 days of median days on market. Still pretty quick, still a seller's market, no doubt. It's not a problem at all. The problem is what we're going to look at is when we go to new pending sales. So it seems like we are hitting our peak much earlier in 2024 than we have in the past, as we have seen activity slow down quite a bit. So as of these first 2 weeks of June, we have a very low amount of new pending sales. So properties are not going under contract nearly as fast. Interest rates haven't changed. Still haven't. Don't know when those are going to happen. I'll keep reiterating that. And again, don't have any control over it, so I'm not really going to speak on it. But at the same time, the activity that we're seeing is slow. And when we pair that with the active inventory that we're seeing on the market, we are now almost over 10,000 active listings according to our MLS. Pair that with, put my tinfoil hat of the presidential election coming up. Historically, for whatever reason, people are typically okay with waiting until whatever happens in the presidential election to purchase a home or spend any money. So we have typically seen a very low activity in the months prior to that. And again, for whatever reason that is, albeit may, it is a thing. So we are seeing a lot less activity. A lot of properties come on the market, not near as many go under contract in the last few weeks. So we are seeing almost our peak hit in May this year, but we don't know how far that's going to go down. My assumption is that by the end of this year in 2024, we will be very close to a balanced market and potentially heading back into what could be a buyer's market. I don't necessarily say that with an iron fist, but I think there's going to be an ability for first-time home buyers to actually get into a home that's affordable to them if we see prices start to curtail a little bit. So I think we'll see some easing in that. And if interest rates stay high, that's probably what you want if you want prices to come down. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller, you want interest rates to go down, so your value goes back up. So we are very dependent on the interest rate situation, but as of right now, what we've seen is we are trending towards more of a buyer's market with our current market situation here in Jacksonville. So I know that was a lot of numbers, a lot of very confusing graphs. If you have any questions about what you should do, questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to me. It's Matty Miller with Pursuit Real Estate. I look at these graphs and this feedback, and again, I could be wrong, but I think that pay attention to this stuff quite a bit, and we're starting to see some things going the other way, which is unique. We haven't seen this in almost 4 years, so we are just trying to predict when that's going to happen. And again, I could be wrong, but at the same time, I'm just giving you the information that's in front of me that I have access to. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. It's Matty Miller with Pursuit Real Estate. We'll talk to you soon.